Hi, I'm Yarmouth's Town Manager Scott LaFlum. With me is Steve Johnson, our town engineer, and Chris Cline, our wastewater superintendent. This November, Yarmouth voters will have an opportunity to weigh in on 3 critical infrastructure improvement projects through a referendum bond question. In this video, both Steve and Chris will walk you through the 3 different projects and explain why they're so important to your day-to-day life here in Yarmouth.
Hi everyone, I'm Steve Johnson, town engineer, here with Chris Cline, the superintendent of wastewater. And we're here to take you through our harbor pump station, just beyond the intersection of Pleasant and Lafayette. So we're excited to take you on this tour of our infrastructure. I'm here with Chris Cline in the pump gallery of the harbor pump station. We're about 20 feet below the elevation at Lafayette Street, down in a very deep hole. Here we see around us all these pumps that convey 85% of our sewerage from the collection system in Yarmouth to the wastewater plant. So this building was constructed in 1967 and it was upgraded in 1992, and about 30 years ago.
Correct.
So, this pump station, while it has been kept in great shape by our excellent staff at the wastewater department, things do wear out and it is definitely time to be replaced. Some of the key considerations for replacing this pump station is it's important that as we move forward this process for replacement, that we think of some of the key important considerations for this project. One of the key things that we need to ensure is that this building is safe for our staff, that it is efficient for our operating budget, and that it meets the new current regulatory standards. Also, it's important that we deal with some of the deficiencies of this station that was constructed back 50 years ago that has changed since its construction. For example, some of the key things that we need to address is how we deal with grit in our wastewater. So, Chris, what is grit? Remind me.
Well, grit is inorganic material that does not break down in the collection system, nor does it break down once it enters the treatment plant. So we need to have an effective, efficient way to remove grit. Here at Harbor Station is the only place in the collection system where we are able to remove grit. As Steve mentioned earlier, Harbor Station pumps 85% of our flow to the plant. That leaves another 15% from Princess Point that pumps directly to the treatment plant. That 15% of wastewater does not receive any grit removal, which damages pumps and piping at the treatment plant. In the past 5 to 10 years, we've endured significant costs and failures due to grit.
So for folks that may not know what grit are small particles of gravel and dirt and eggshells and seeds, all those things that can be introduced into the collection system through a garbage disposal or through maybe a broken pipe or construction activities, the grit that might come in through manhole covers during rainstorms. So there's a lot of ways that grit can get into our system. And it's very important that we get it out because Chris pointed out it's very abrasive on our equipment down at the wastewater plant. So that's why it's a critical consideration of this project. Here at Harbor, while again old technology, it really isn't as efficient as it could be. Another key consideration for replacing the station and dealing with grit at the wastewater plant. So Yarmouth embarked on a process to come up with a plan to perform grit removal and replace this pump station. So the first thing that we did is we hired a company by the name of Wright Pierce, an excellent engineering firm, to help us through this process. I also want to say that our wastewater plant staff did a wonderful job going to visit other pump stations, look at other communities' infrastructure, and also best practices in the industry to ensure that, hey, we're making some of the right decisions for a very long time frame. Again, these pump stations last a long time. We want to be sure that we do our homework to make the right decisions as we move forward. After a lot of very difficult work, and fun work I might add, our consulting firm and the town came up with 4 alternatives for replacing this pump station to move forward. One would be just generally a rehab of the existing facility. Another one would be improving it slightly to deal a little bit with grit. Also, another one would be to completely blow it up and replace new with a submersible pump station. And then a 4th alternative would be to essentially remove grit down to the wastewater plant, but reuse as much of this facility as we can, because there are parts of the facility that are in good shape and that we can reuse. That's the alternative that we're recommending to the citizens at the referendum vote. So the recommended alternative, as I said, would reuse the portion of this room that we're standing in right here. All of this equipment would be removed, and they would be replaced with submersible pumps and submersible equipment, such that it would then be filled with effluent. The area behind me, that area would be turned into a valve pit so that we can control the flow of the pump discharges. And then we would just have, essentially, at the top of the structure, it would be demoed. We'd have a hatchway that we can get into this space, and then another small control building and another small generator building. So it would look vastly different. However, we'd be reusing most of the existing below-grade infrastructure for a significant cost savings. Of the four alternatives, they range between about $5 million to about $8.5 million. So the recommended alternative would be $7 million that would involve the replacement in what we believe is the right direction to go for the town of Yarmouth, which would include the selective alternatives of a submersible pump station reusing all this great infrastructure, as well as installing grit separation at the wastewater plant, and also some headworks improvements we need to do as part of this project, for a total cost, as I said, is $7 million. The alternatives between $5 to about $8.5 million, with $7 million really being the sweet spot that captures all of the work that we need to do at the most cost-effective solution. So Chris and I are going to bid you adieu from the pump gallery at the Harbor Pump Station, 20 feet below Lafayette Street. So we want to thank all of you for taking the time to see our wonderful infrastructure here. And so I want to thank Chris for all his help with this project and all the hard work that he and all the other wastewater staff folks put into this project. So join us in the next segment at Davis Landing Bridge, which we'll be following shortly. For more information about this excellent project, please visit the town's website at www.yarmouth.me.us.
You can also find more information about this project and other day-to-day activities that the Wastewater Department provides the town of Yarmouth on our Facebook page.
Thank you.